Hi there, welcome back. This is Manu here. Let's say you take an ice cube and place it under the sun. What happens? It melts. Simple. Does it happen every time? Yes. Whenever you place the ice cube under the sun, it melts. Every time. Always. So, can I say it's a general statement, a general fact? Yes. We also call it a scientific fact. So how do you say it in English? If you place an ice cube under the sun, it melts. So this is called a conditional statement because you're talking about a condition if. So if a condition happens, the result happens. Here the condition is place the ice cube under the sun. The result is it melts. Now why is this important? This structure that is. Well, it helps us talk about a cause or condition, its result, and what is the link? How are these two linked? What's the relationship between the cause and result or effect? For example, in this statement, if you place an ice cube under the sun, it melts. The result is always 100%. So we can say that the relationship is 100%. But can we say if you place an ice cube under the sun, it will melt? Now, that's a question to be thought of. Is there a difference between the two sentences, two statements? Yes, there is. Is it really important? Very important. What's the difference? That is what we are going to look at in this video and in a few subsequent videos as well. Now, because there are different kinds of relationships between cause and effect, there's a whole family of these conditional statements. Now, in this video, we're going to look at one specific use of one specific relationship between cause and effect. People call it the zero conditional. We'll also call it the zero conditional. We'll look at the other relationships and other uses of zero conditional in subsequent videos. Now, before I proceed, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. Only about 4 to 8% of people subscribe. That's really small, isn't it? And if you like this video, do hit the like button, the thumbs up button, and share it as well. Give your comments below. Another thing that I want to say is, watch this video till the end. First reason is, there are a few other language elements that you'll get from this video as we go forward. And we look at every little bit right through the video. So if you miss one bit, you break the thread. Don't do it. Let's start. The specific use that we're going to look at in today's video is how to state scientific facts. We use this structure to state scientific facts. Let's take another example of a scientific fact. If you dip a pH strip in acid, it turns red. Does it happen every time? Yes, every time. Now, I want you to notice 3 important points in this. First of all, notice the tense. If you dip, it turns. So it's called the present simple. I didn't say if you dipped, it turned, it will turned, it has turned, if you will dip, nothing. I just said if you dip, present simple, it turns red, present simple. That's the structure. Grammatically speaking, it is if plus present simple, present simple. So what's the grammar rule then? If it happens generally or every time, you use the present simple in both the cause and the effect. There's a grammar rule, but we'll know that, we'll verify that in all the examples that we see. Second point that I want you to notice is instead of if, you can also say when. So when you dip a pH strip in an acid, it turns red. Now, why can I use when? Because it simply means whenever you dip a pH strip. Instead of saying whenever, I can simply say when. It happens every time. Third thing, you can transpose the cause and effect. So, if you dip a pH strip into an acid, it turns red. Transpose the cause and effect. The pH strip turns red if you dip it in acid. Both are fine. And this is applicable for when as well. The pH strip turns red when you dip it in acid. So you can transpose. So these are the three important points that you have to note. And in all the subsequent examples that we see, make sure you read these 3 points as well into each example. So we've got 4 ways of saying it now. Let me repeat that for you. 1. If you dip a pH strip in acid, it turns red. When you dip pH strip in acid, it turns red. The pH strip turns red if you dip it in acid. The pH strip turns red when you dip it in acid. 4 ways of saying it, right? Now I want you to look at these 4 ways also of saying the other examples that we're going to look at soon. Let's look at a few other examples here. 2 in fact. If you pour oil on water, it floats. Or you can also say it as when you pour oil on water, it floats. Oil floats if you pour it on water. Oil floats when you pour it on water. See, 4 different ways of saying it. Now, give me these 4 different ways, or say these 4 different ways on your own in the next example. If a cell is infected by the COVID virus, 2DG stops viral synthesis and destroys the protein's energy production. This is what a scientist will say, the DRDO scientist who invented 2GD, or who developed 2GD. Now, let's look at another situation. We can use this same structure to say how something works. Let's see what a scientist would say about Covaxin, the way Covaxin works in our body. Covaxin is the anti-coronavirus vaccine developed by Bharat Biotech. If you vaccinate a person with Covaxin, the antigen-presenting cells swallow the virus and tear it up. Now, I want you to pause the video right here and say the same sentence in 3 other ways. You just learned it, right? This is your practice. When the helper T cells detect the fragments, it recruits other immune cells to respond to the virus. The B cells produce antibodies that stick to the viruses and stop them from entering healthy cells. This is how Covaxin works. So we've just used the 0 conditional to explain how Covaxin works. Now, this can be used to explain how absolutely anything works. If you do this, this happens. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, this happens. How things work, because they are general, they happen every time. The relationship is 100%. If you do one, the other will always happen, no exception. Let's look at a couple of examples here. 3 in fact. If you want to make high-speed transistors, you use indium gallium arsenide semiconductors. Can you say this in 3 other ways? Do that. This is what a heart surgeon will say. If you have 2 blocked vessels, especially the upstream portion, and one is the left anterior descending artery LAD, bypass surgery is the best option. Now let's look at another situation where a desert cooler salesman will sell his product. If you have a dry skin, cooler works better than AC for you. Say this in 3 different ways. 3 other different ways, that is. Now let's look at how an AC salesman will sell his product. If the weather is humid, the cooler doesn't work. Now notice it. He said, if the weather is humid, the cooler doesn't work. So that's a negative over here. So it doesn't have to be positive, positive every time. It can be positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, negative. Both are, all these 4 are fine. They all come under 0 conditional. The only thing is the result should happen every time the cause happens. Can you tell me a few situations in your life where the result happens every time the cause happens? Now here's my challenge question. I'm going to give you 2 situations, and I want you to use this structure on these 2 situations in the 4 different ways that we have just learned. Situation 1. Throw a stone into the pond, it sinks. Situation 2. I lose my way, I asked for directions. So that was it in this video. In the next video, we're going to look at using this structure to talk about habits, general truths, giving instructions, etc. when you want to connect the actions and results. So I'll wait for your comments on these 2 challenge questions. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching this video, liking it and subscribing to our channel. We'll see you in the next video. Until then.